Oh, I'm little again. What's up, guys? This is Jeff here with True Crime Myths, Legends, and More podcast. And so I am coming at you with this special edition. You can see I am, again, not at home because I have this crazy background and it's doing all kinds of weird things. You can see the bed in the hotel, which is really strange. But, hey, you do what you can. Well, you're out on the road trying to do this, and I didn't want to wait very long since there has been a bunch of crazy movement in the Delphi case with the release of the Bridge Guy video, and there's been a lot of crazy chatter that's going on right now. Even more so now since that video has been released to the public. Versus when it was just the Ricci Davis stuff and the different motions and things like that were happening. There's been a lot of movement. I don't know if you guys have seen, but apparently on the 11th, it just got reported to all of us today. I just saw, but the appeal is in. So they've requested and filed for an appeal in this case. So we'll see where that goes. Of course, now they have to, get all their information together. They have to submit it. Then the courts will have to look at it and determine if it goes to a trial or not. So there's a lot of legwork that has to happen from here on out. But this is the beginning of all of that. There are also a lot of people out there, continuing naysayers out there. So for all of you guys out there, say what you got to say. It's okay. We all have our ideas. We all have our thoughts. I think that there are many of them that are backed up by facts. And I think that I don't think this is over yet. And I hope not, because I think that there is a lot of things out there. So with that all being said, for the first time ever, I am bringing on my brother from up in Canada. We've got Criptex here with us tonight, so he's going to come on. We're going to talk about all this stuff. We're going to watch the Bridge Guy video and kind of break it apart and have a good discussion about that. And so we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the Ricci Davis letters. We'll talk about the pending appeal that is now coming down. We haven't seen any of the documents yet, and then all the denials of all the motions that have come through in the last couple days. Like I said, there has been a lot of movement, or I guess non-movement in this case, in the last 3 days. So without further ado, we're going to bring on Cryptex. Let me get rid of all of this stuff so I don't hit the wrong thing. All right. What's up, man?
What's up, Jeff? How are you, man?
Good, man. It's nice to have you on my channel for once, since I've been on yours several times now.
That's cool, man. Thank you so much for the invitation. Happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's cool, man. I've had a bunch of people asking since they've seen me on your show, like, hey, you got to bring him over here. We'd love to hear from him here. So yeah, I wanted to make sure that happened sooner rather than later. And we've had all this crazy stuff going on in the Delphi case. And I thought it was the perfect time to have a good conversation and a good discussion around it, because there is some wild shit happening right now. And, for those of you that are out there that haven't seen it, me and Cryptex don't always agree on all of the facts. So right. He is very much in the camp of, he's not sure. Maybe Richard Allen was very much a part of this. I am very much in the camp where I don't think that he was. But that's okay, because it's important to have the discussions. The problem is there's too many people out there that are just saying, I just read right before I got on here, I was looking because I wanted to pull the Bridge Guy video again onto my computer. But I was looking, and a bunch of the people were saying, I don't know why people keep saying Bridge Guy. His name is Richard Allen. And it's like, if you look at the video and it's grainy, I mean, the guy is far away, but it doesn't even look like Allen.
No.
Right?
No.
So it's like, how Allen is 5'5". He's a tiny dude. And this guy is not much bigger than this guy is bigger than the girls. And so the guy in the video has to be anywhere between 5'8" and 5'10", maybe. And Richard Allen, I think, is shorter than one of the girls. So I don't know how this is possible. But anyway, that's beside the point. I got to watch a whole bunch of videos the other day where they were matching, or at least listening to the way that Bridge Guy talks versus the way that Richard Allen talks. And this is not vocal range, right? We're not talking about vocal, because no matter what you think, all of these videos are distorted. We don't know what his actual voice sounds like because they've all been enhanced. So there's no way to say, oh, that voice sounds like so-and-so, because you don't know that. Now, what you can do is you can listen to the way that a person speaks and the words that they use and see if that's consistent with how the person in the Bridge Guy video talks. And what you find, if you actually do an honest look and you listen to that, is he doesn't sound very much like Richard Allen at all. He sounds very much like Ron Logan, though. So, you know, there's even a video where one of the interviewers asked Ron Logan to say "down the hill." Mm-hmm. And when you listen to the guy, the way that he says it, it sounds very much the speed in which Ron Logan talks. Now, what's interesting about that is that we don't hear the guy who interviewed Ron Logan didn't ask him to say girls or guys down the hill. Now, I would have really liked to have heard him say guys, because Ron Logan has a very whistly way that he says his S's. And so it's also very similar to the video, guys down the hill. The way that he says that is a little bit whistly there. And so it matches the way that Ron Logan says it. But I'd love to hear him say guys so we could tell if it was him or not, if it was the same kind of way that he says it, the way that he says his S's. So I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Man, this case is just crazy. Every time we see or we watch like a new video, a new part of evidence, at the end you have more questions than answers. This is freaking crazy. I don't know, but to me it's not yet clear who was the person or the persons who released the video. It's not yet clear who is the owner of that website where the video was published. I don't know. I heard a lot of things and a lot of people saying that this is the original video that was extracted from Libby's phone. Some people that were present during the process, like Andrea Bachart, they say that this is not the original video, that this is the enhanced video. So I don't know. I'm not an expert in video editing or in audio editing, in that type of stuff. But when I see this video, some things feel off to me. Is I can see some type of, I'm not gonna say artificial intelligence, but some type of signatures showing you that this video was modified somehow. Especially when I see Abby and Bridge Guy. I don't know if you remember the other time we were talking about the way the video was modified or enhanced. They use the word like interpolation. I can see maybe that when we see Abby and Bridge Guy moving on the bridge, there's some kind of interpolation. It's not like a natural flow when they walk. And again, it's just a feeling. Maybe I'm just dreaming, but it's what I see. It's what I feel. Now, everybody is watching at the same video. Everybody is listening to the same sounds, but all of us, we are understanding something different. Some people, and I think it's because we have some preconceptions in mind. People who already made their minds thinking that Richard Allen is guilty, they see Richard Allen in the bridge, on the bridge. People that think that maybe he's not the guy, they say no, you cannot take any conclusion with this blurry guy walking on the bridge.
Absolutely.
So if you think that Richard Allen is guilty, you're gonna hear that the Libby is saying, "Is that a gun or that be a gun?" Because that fits the narrative of uh, of the state. And actually, I'm of course, I'm not an English speaker, but I hear that that be a gun. I don't know. It's weird. You were talking
So
about, yeah.
So it's interesting when you say that. When I watch this video specifically, the one that's on that website, I do not hear that. When you hear it, when it's enhanced again, and they pull out some of the background noise, is the only time I hear that. So I have heard it, right? When they zero it in. But like this always makes me question again, how much can you put into a video? Like how much can you, like, I don't know what the possibility is even with this enhanced video, right?
Mhm.
How much can you add in there? You know we've got AI and all kinds of things now to be able to change that. And they told us, like, when they did the enhancement and whatever that, I forget what the last one they called is, uh like the special edition or whatever it is, the
Interpolation,
last,
they
yeah.
call.
But they said that they used AI on that to help with it. So then it makes me question what actually there is real. Because if you can add all this stuff in and you can clear up the background and stuff, you would hope that the police aren't using that to fit their own narrative. But how do we know that? Right? We don't know that other than watching the original video and what's there. And from what we know of the original video, from the people that were in the courtroom watching it, there were a bunch of them that said that they couldn't even see Alan in the video, or Bridge Guy in the video, right? That
Exactly.
he wasn't even on the, like, they didn't even see him.
Right.
So how the hell can you now tell me that this video
The
that is
original.
now the enhanced version, you can all of a sudden see this guy who is 8 or 10 steps behind Abby on the bridge, but nobody in the courtroom when they watched the original video could see this guy?
That's
Like,
why that's why I think this is the enhanced video.
yeah,
But a
yeah.
lot of people is saying that this is the original one, so it's really weird. Uh,
Well, so here's the other thing too. The prosecution said that at the end of the video, they could hear the gun racking. I never could hear that in any of the videos, whether they enhanced the audio, whether they took the background noise. What I do hear is somebody walking, like, because they're standing on gravel, right at the side of the railroad tracks. So like I never once heard a gun racking. I hear when you do the very enhanced version, I can hear there something being said that could be maybe that a gun or something like that. But you got to listen real hard. And the thing that gets me about the whole thing is neither of these girls seem like they're scared in the whole video.
at least they are not panicking.
Yeah.
I can feel at the end maybe some type of vibe, or they are a little bit. I don't know what kind of word I would use, but they are not panicking at all. Maybe that they feel like maybe we took a bad decision or something like that, but there's not a panic feeling.
Yeah. You know what
In,
it sa- you know what it sounds like to me is it sounds like when Libby says to her, there's no path there. We have to go down here. That's when you hear her kind of sigh. But I think that is because, damn, we got to go down that hill.
exactly.
I don't think it doesn't sound like she's terrified that this guy has a gun and is going to kill them. Right? That's not what I hear. I hear two girls that are like, damn, we got to go down this big ass hill.
I mean, I wouldn't discard that possibility, but for sure we cannot not say that's what happening. There's a sound there, but let's say just for the sake of the conversation that in the crime scene, the state found a Coca-Cola can, a can of Coca-Cola, let's say. If the same sound you hear now is fitting that narrative, you can say that you can hear British guy opening a can of Coca-Cola. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
can fit that narrative because there's a sound, but that sound can be anything. You
Yeah.
cannot say that that's the sound of a gun being manipulated. Let's say. So can you hear me well? Because I think I'm frozen.
I can hear you just
Yeah.
fine. Your
Okay.
video is kind of choppy, but I can hear you just fine. You haven't frozen up as far as that's concerned.
Okay, cool. So I don't think we can take any decision about that gun. Or again, I wouldn't discard it at all, but I wouldn't confirm that. It's impossible. When you were talking about the voice, let's say again, for the sake of the conversation, that the voice is not enhanced. That this is the original voice of Bridge Guy. Remember that when we were talking the other time, and we were talking about the voice, we know that the voice sample is very short, guys, down the hill. Even if that's the actual sound, the actual voice we are listening to, we cannot compare that sample with any human being. That was said by actual voice analysis experts. You
Yeah.
cannot compare that sample with any voice because the sample is too short. So you
Yeah.
cannot
You have,
say that because you are hearing that guys down the hill. Now you can say that matches Richard Allen voice, and we don't know what is the voice of Richard Allen again. We who,
yeah,
on,
we only have one clip of
which
Richard
is
Allen's voice, and that is the one where him and his wife are on the roller coaster or something.
exactly.
That's all we have.
So how can you go outside on a YouTube channel saying that voice matches Richard Allen? It's impossible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the things, and I'm interested to get your take on this because I think it's important. In the very beginning of the video, uh, you see Abby on the bridge coming across. She's too far away from Libby to whisper to her. However, you hear whispering in the video. Now, that is either Libby whispering to someone else so that they can't hear her, or someone whispering to Libby something.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't make it out. It's inaudible what is being said there. But to me, it sounds like there is more than one person there. That there are actually two people, a person walking across the bridge who is bridge guy, and then somebody standing behind Libby having a conversation or instructing her to do something. I'm interested your thoughts on that because it seems like she's trying to hide the camera too. So there's a lot of weird things that are happening right at this point. But again, with that being said, it doesn't seem like that any of them were panicked.
No.
So she doesn't seem like she's afraid for her life at this point if somebody else is standing next to her and talking to her. So it seems like to me that, and this is just my extrapolation, that there are two people up there. They're both trying to get them to go down the hill to go meet somebody else, but they knew it. And they knew that they were going there to meet somebody,
Sure.
which is ultimately what ends up being said through Ricci Davis and Ron Logan and Kegan Kline now to meet a third person. Now, is that Kegan that's up there? Now, if you believe the Ricci Davis stuff, and we'll get into this much more later, but if you believe the Ricci Davis stuff, Kegan did have a gun, right? And so maybe that is possible that something was said at that point. So there's a lot of interesting things here that the people that automatically say, well, it's Richard Allen, there was nobody else, that it seems almost laughable when you look at the crime scene, when you look at how things were done, how they handled these girls, that it would ever be even possible for one dude to do this.
No,
Whether
no,
you believe it's Allen or not.
right. Look, I'm still processing the information. I rewatched that video maybe 100 times, and I want to watch it again because I, 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 I don't, I don't have any conclusion yet. I thought about the same thing you were talking. At one point, it seems that Liv is actually talking to other person at the end of the bridge. But I cannot say that that's actually what happened. I need to watch the video more times. But let's say, just for the sake of the conversation, that there is nothing weird in that video. That there is no artificial intelligence. That there's nothing altered. Let's say that everything that we are watching is a fact. uh, you you cannot say that the girls are being under any type of threat by British guy. To me, it feels like, as you said, and that is my theory since the beginning. The girls were there to meet someone, and it seems when British guy says, "Guys down the hill," it's like he's giving like the direction to the girls. Hey, you want to go there? So it's down the hill. I know that you want to go there for some reason. Maybe remember that when Ricci Davis was talking about Ron Logan and Kegan Kline, the idea was that Ron Logan was trying to direct the girls to his property to show them rabbits and horses. So
Yeah.
maybe that was a discussion they had before, potentially. So, okay, we have to go this way, and I'm gonna show you where are the rabbits and the horses. Just let's say that that's a potential hypothesis here. So they cross the bridge, they go to the other side, and they don't see any path. So what are we doing here? There's no path to go there to watch the horses, let's say. So this guy, hey guys, down the hill. To me, is more like not an instruction, just like a direction, like giving
Yeah.
some type of address. Go there, and not, and it's not like a threat. Guys, down the hill. No, it's like, hey guys, down the hill. Is how I feel, how I perceive that situation. But again, everybody's understanding and perceiving something different here. I don't know.
Which is another interesting point, because if that's the case, and we also know that at the crime scene, that it seems like the phone and all of that stuff wasn't wet. Some of the clothes were because they threw them in the river. But if that's the case, then maybe they didn't wade through the river to go across to the other side or the creek or whatever, and they didn't get wet. Maybe they crossed it a different way. But again, that doesn't fit the prosecution's timeline, but
Mhm.
it does fit the defense's timeline. The fact that they may have been moved, that they may have gotten over to the other side of the creek a different way, that they were not there when the search party and everything was there. And then now we find out that the reason why the bodies were left on the property is because there were too many people looking. They couldn't get the bodies out there without being discovered. So they had to put them where they put them and then try to cover it up with the whole Odinism thing to try to throw people off, because they knew they were going to find the bodies. So they were trying to do whatever they could to make them throw it off their scent. So that seems really plausible to me.
Yeah, you were talking about the phone. Remember that we saw the picture of the phone. that picture was displayed, we can see some type of condensation, let's say,
Yeah.
on the external side of the phone, but we cannot say that the phone was wet. To me, it's
No.
just condensation because of the elements, let's say, like
Yeah.
dew point or something like that.
Yep.
And I remember that there was some statement during the process that it was something like there is no evidence of water damage on the phone. So my understanding is that there was no water damage, but when we see the picture of the phone, we can see like a little small drops, of condensation on the outside of the phone, which is normal in my opinion. Uh, do they cross the creek? That's one of the mysteries here. I really don't know if they did it or not. I'm like 50-50. Could be, I don't know. But again, if in uh, in the case, which is my hypothesis here, uh, Kegan Kline and other person were waiting for the girls at the other side of the bridge, maybe they were abducted in some type of vehicle.
Mm.
So that's what I think it could happen. But we are speculating here, What
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
think is that again, this video doesn't prove anything. It doesn't prove that Richard Allen is innocent, and it doesn't prove that Richard Allen is guilty. Uh, it's interesting because that's what we want. We want to see this type of documentation, those documents, this material. That's what we are asking since the beginning. We want to see what was happening. We want to have some transparency here. Now that we have that material, yeah, that's why we are here talking about that. But
So,
to me, there's no indication that that video is not proving anything, in my opinion, so far.
so what's really interesting to me about all of this is when we listen to the juror who came out and spoke about what was important to them and what they felt was important to the rest of the jurors. What we know is the number one thing that got Richard Allen convicted is the fact that they believe that he's bridge guy. Now, here's the thing. We've now seen the video, and the only plausible evidence that they had to say that Richard Allen was bridge guy. And now we have a lot more information than the jury had because we have all this extra stuff that was not even allowed in trial. So, we actually have a better advantage than the jury does. And I'll be honest, even without any of that information, just watching this video and just, knowing Alan and seeing all that, I still don't understand how they could have convicted him beyond a reasonable doubt. Like,
Exactly.
there still is a ton of reasonable doubt. Even if you have this video and your only suspect is Richard Allen, how could you convict this guy for 130 years? It seems implausible to me.
No, it's
Uh,
impossible.
and with all of this extra evidence and all these other confessions and things, it seems like it's obvious that, hey, how do we, like, there's no way that you can put this guy away for 130 years, you know, judging from the confessions and that he might be bridge guy. Because it does not make sense at all when I look at it. Even if Richard Allen was involved in this, like there's just no way to make that conclusion.
No.
There's so much else to this case, and it'll be interesting to see what happens in an appeal if it gets anywhere or if it gets struck down, because Gall is still striking everything down. She just denied all of the other motions. The other day, they had the motion to revisit the motion to correct errors. She struck that down again. Well, she actually didn't strike that down again. What she struck down was the motion to preserve evidence. So she struck that down, and because she struck that down, the motion to correct errors was not even valid. So she was smart in not having to do any of that. But ultimately, The defense just wanted to get it into record so that it can go on the appellate court. So, they got it in the record saying that, hey, we made these motions. Here was all of our background information, and now they can use that background information in an appellate case. So it was good on their part. And, it's crazy to me that you have all these people out there, they're all posting, thank God, Baldwin and Rosie are out of this thing because they were terrible. They're clowns and this and that. And I'm like looking at it, and I'm like, do you even have any idea how the legal system works and what they are doing and what they're setting up right now? The fact that you guys think that they're being stupid and they're just throwing things out there and seeing what sticks, you have no idea the process that they're working on. And they're all talking about Osbrook and all that stuff and how they don't like him. That guy actually does appellate law all the time, and he knows what needs to get out there so that they can actually have a case. So I'll be interested to see what the appellate lawyers do, because now they've got to draft their whole thing, and that will probably take months and months, if not a year or more, to draft that. They'll have to submit some preliminary stuff, but we won't see the final thing for over a year from now, probably.
Yeah, sure. No, I hope an appeal is going to be granted, because again, we need to have some answers here. There's a lot of unanswered questions, so I hope so. And it was really hard for the defense, because I don't know if you remember the quantity of information that the state provided to the defense was like, I don't know how many terabytes. And those files were not even named properly.
Nope.
So it's impossible for the defense to go through the whole quantity of information they have. So maybe there's something there that is exculpatory as well, but they need an army of clerks to pass through those.
And then they wouldn't even release any money to them so that they could have those clerks to go through any of that information.
Yeah,
there's a lot of stuff that people want to go through this case and say, well, they could have done this, they could have done that, but the entire time the state and the legal system was restricting everything that the defense could even possibly do, right? Early on, because they didn't release any money to them and they had to go and crowdfund, and people were saying all kinds of things. Well, they're doing this because of that. It is regular practice in a trial like this that the state sets aside money, an even amount of money, so that the state can go and get their experts and the defense can go and get their experts. And they can go out there and they can do their due diligence and present a fair trial for the person that they're representing. That did not happen in this case at all. And, that is really suspect from the very beginning. Like, how do you do that? How do you not allow the defense to actually put on a defense to be able to do the best that they can do for their client? It seems crazy to me.
Yeah, and now that you're talking about that, the resources, remember also that we were talking about, sorry, it's my dog barking in the background. She's crazy. Just give me 1 second, because she's not gonna. Okay. Remember that we were talking about the determination of the height of bridge guy, that it was never done, neither by the state or the defense. And both sides, they had like an answer for that, and it was lack of resources. And apparently the cost to do that type of determination was $10,000, which to me is nothing for a case of this magnitude, let's say. But what my point is, now that we have this video released, you're gonna see that a lot of people, they're gonna use the video to try to determine the height of bridge guy, and you're gonna see different outcomes. You're gonna see 5.3, 5.4, 6, 6.5 feet. It's gonna be crazy. Even with that material that is being released, you're gonna have different outcomes. And one thing that I don't understand yet is, remember that when first days after the event, the date of the murders, the state or Indiana State Police, they published the still image of Bridge Guy, and then the video where Bridge Guy is walking like in a loop. And when you compare this video with the video we have today, the video we have today, if that's the original video, is really clear. So why did they put out there that crappy video which was distorted, and they were asking for help? Why, if you have this original video, why didn't you put at least the bridge guy section? Uh, you know what I mean? It doesn't make
So
sense.
I saw somebody that posted the two images next to each other of the original image that they released to the public and this image that we have from this video. And what you can see is that the original image that they posted is squashed,
Exactly.
which makes the guy look fatter, look shorter. And it's like, why would you do that?
Right.
If you're trying to find who the real person is.
Exactly.
And so, like, there's a lot of stuff in this case that makes me wonder. And so, well, we'll get to that later, because that's some more extrapolation that I think will be good. But what we should do is we should watch the video. So let me put the video up here, and we'll play it a bunch of times. And it's, oh, that ain't what I wanted. There we go. Boom. But people get to see the video, and then you guys can determine. We'll talk about it. We'll pause it and do all that stuff. It's only 40 some seconds, 50 seconds long. So it's not like we're going to take up 3 hours here. So, all right, I'm going to add it to the stage. We'll be quiet and you guys can listen.
See, this is the path that we go down. There's no path going there, so we have to go down here. Hi.
All right, so that is the infamous Bridge Guy video. And a couple things that you'll notice. Abby runs past Libby. Right as she's running past Libby is where they believe that she's saying, "Dat a gun." And what I hear when you don't enhance it and you hear it just there, what I hear is, "Oh crap," is what it sounds like she says. And to me, that makes a lot more sense, because she is clearly like getting to the end of the bridge and she's like kind of running off of the bridge because it's scary to be on the top of this fucking bridge and trying to get off of it. And she's like, "Oh crap." So to me, that's what I hear when I listen to this video the way that it is. Now, when you enhance it and you take out all the background noise and all of these other things that they've done in some of these videos that I've heard, you have a case where it sounds like maybe she's saying, "Dat a gun?" But that's not what I hear when I listen to this raw footage. If this is the original, or even if it's the enhanced version, that's not what I hear here. So I don't know. You tell me, Cryptex. What do you think?
Yeah, again, I don't feel any panic I'm not gonna say that they are fully relaxed either. No, I feel some type of weird vibe. I think that they were like maybe trusting this guy, and now they don't feel the same when they are at the other end of the bridge. But there's no panic, in my opinion. Again, uh, I hear that be a gun. That's what I hear. Uh, Again, I'm not an English speaker, so I'm not the best source to say I'm listening to that audio properly, but that's what I hear. And I don't know, uh, the way Abby walks to me is a little bit weird. I don't know. I'm still processing. I'm not gonna say it's an artificial intelligence, but it's not like a natural flow. I don't know. It's when you watch those movies like in a cinematic way where there's like a slow motion pace. I have that vibe. I may be wrong. I don't know. And I have like a deja vu here because at one point Libby's no sorry Abby, she's like trying to pass one of those how can you how do you call those steps? I don't know. And she's like jumping a little bit, something like that. And I remember a video showing something like that in the past. Someone was playing with with the picture, and I don't know. I have a weird memory here. I'm not gonna go like in a conspiracy land, but I'm still watching some weird. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe interpolation pixels here. That it sounds like too clear at some points the video, and not too clear at other parts of the video. I don't know, man. I don't know. Still trying to make my own mind here.
Yeah, it's it's hard. It's hard to understand, because we have no context for this video, right? There's nothing before it. There's nothing after it. What we do know is that in this area, right, going across that bridge at the time, because that bridge is not there the way that it is here. It's no longer that way. I've been there. So, it's like about half of what it once was. And so when this happened in 2017, but, this bridge was kind of like a rite of passage. Now,
Right.
we don't know if this is the first time that Libby is gone, or Abby and Libby have gone across the bridge. We don't know if this is the 100th time that they've gone across this bridge, if it was like a daily thing for them that they always went across the bridge, or if it was like they were daring each other to go across the bridge. Like, those are the questions that we don't know about this. So, what does that mean for the response that they're having? Is the anxiety that they're having maybe like, hey, I did it? Or, is, I don't know. I don't know any of those answers to that. Maybe they did. Maybe this was an everyday thing for them. But still, I remember as a kid going across stuff like that. And as a kid or a teenager, every time you get across, it's like, yay,
Exactly.
running across the finish line, right?
Yeah.
So you wonder if that's what's happening here versus this, because there isn't any panic there. They're not panicked like somebody's going to kill them or somebody is forcing them into a place where they're not already planning on going.
And
So
I have this crazy idea. I don't know, but it's similar to your thoughts. I don't know why. At some point, I was thinking that at one point, Libby and Abby they were together at the other side of the bridge at the end, and I don't know why I have this idea. It's like if maybe Abby she came back to jump again that hole, that step there, because it was like a challenge for her. You can see that when she does that type of jump, she's like I'm not gonna say excited, but hey, I can do this, you know. I like she did it again. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know why I had that idea, but when you were talking about that, hey, me too. I was talking about something similar. I don't know, man. It's so sad when you hear the voice of Libby, so sweet, and now you know that that was one of the last moments of her life. It's really sad.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And you know that like after this brief conversation happens and this brief video is taken, that everything, not just them physically going down the hill, but everything goes down the hill, right? That now they go down and it is nothing but horror from here on out. They go into, you know, their very real life horror movie, and there is no escape for them. And that is what's really sad about this whole thing, that we're watching this one moment in time, the last time that these two girls are, you know, have any feeling of safety and security. They don't seem like they have anything that they're afraid of in this video. But we know that shortly after this, they would be in fear for their lives, and that is crazy. That is telling about how quickly things can change for any one of us. You know, that in a moment, life can be radically altered and everything changes, you know, and, you know, that hopefully will give perspective to a lot of people about what can actually happen out there and how we need to make sure that we're protecting ourselves and keeping ourselves safe. Because, you know, you wouldn't think that two teenage girls out there, you know, for a little hike or whatever would encounter something like this and have this happen. So,
Yeah.
all right.
And I don't know if the video actually ends here,
Yeah.
because that's what we were told, that the video is only 43 seconds. But remember that at one point of the whole case, I don't know if it was Carter or another agent here. They said that in the video there were like the stuff of nightmares. So I don't know if after this ending, there's something else that they are not showing. Maybe the girls screaming, or I don't know. It's weird. I remember that in the video we could see the stuff of nightmares, which I don't see anything like that here in this 43 seconds video.
Yeah. So where is that at? Because that's definitely not here. All right, let's play this again. I might stop it a few times and rewind it, but here, we'll start it over. All right. So right before this, you can see Abby you know, going across the bridge. And right here, go back a second, you can hear a whisper. And this is really weird to me because it's obviously not Abby, who is halfway down the bridge. She couldn't whisper and get into the, you wouldn't be able to pick her up in the microphone on the phone, but you hear a whisper there. Now, whether that is Libby whispering something, but why would she be whispering something? Or somebody else whispering, or her whispering to somebody else. It's really strange to me, but listen to it again. You hear that?
Yeah.
And you hear her. What's really telling to me is you hear this whisper, and then you hear Libby breathe, and it doesn't sound the same as the whisper, which means to me that if you're listening to this, it sounds like somebody else is there whispering to her because it's not the same. So, I don't know, one more time.
See, this is the path that we go down.
All right. This is where they said that they say that be a gun. So
path that we go down.
oh, I do hear it there.
I hear that.
Yeah, and it's Libby that says it, not
Yeah, it's
Abby.
Libby. Yeah, it's Libby.
So I heard it that time. Okay. Well, there we go. I didn't hear that before. Yeah, right there.
Path. There's no path going there, so we have to go down here. Hi.
So, okay. So this is interesting to me. If she has the camera and we can see her shadow, that means the camera is facing in front of her, right? And the sun is behind her. So if we're talking about Bridge Guy having a gun, it's not possible for her to be looking at Bridge Guy when she's facing away and Bridge Guy is coming up behind her, because she's not facing him in this angle unless she physically turns. But you can see her shadow, which means that if there is a gun, it has to be held by somebody else.
I don't know, man. I don't know
Like-
how the cell phone was. What was the position of the cell phone in her hand?
So right here,
Yeah.
she's facing wherever that trail is, right? So from this point, you can see the shadows, right? And it may right there. She's standing away. And that's where Abby passes in front of her. But
Mhm.
that is right at the time that she says that be a gun. Right? And then Abby passes right in front of her. So the camera's got to be in front of her at that point.
Yeah,
So
but
where's
her head could be like this, like this, like this, you know?
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe she's
because
I don't
looking
know.
back,
Yeah. Trying to figure out stuff. Where are we going? This is that be a gun? I don't know.
but it's really weird. Like, I don't know about you, but like if somebody pulls out a gun and I'm going to say something about it, she sounds awful calm.
Yeah.
Like I said, it sounds really weird why you would say it. That be a gun, versus like, oh shit, he's got a gun.
I agree. I agree.
Like, that seems very strange.
Yeah. The intonation is not what you would expect for that be a gun. No, I agree with you in that.
Yeah, it seems almost dismissive.
Yeah.
Like, no big deal.
Exactly.
Like everybody does this around here. Like that seems very strange.
Maybe that's the case there. I don't know.
I mean, they are in the woods in the middle of Indiana, so it's possible. Yeah. But this may also be, they're talking about going and seeing these horses. And what was the other animal you said?
Rabbits.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Maybe it wasn't a surprise. Maybe they were going to go see the horses and rabbits, and maybe that person said, hey, we've got to go down there, and could you guys help me go down there because one of the rabbits is sick and we need to put one of the rabbits down.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's a possibility that's why they weren't alarmed at the fact that maybe there was a gun, because they were already told that they were going to go down there and help with that. And of course this is lots and lots of extrapolation that we don't really know.
Exactly.
But
here, this is a very usual tactic or strategy to lure girls. Here in Canada, we have the case of Cedrica Provencher, which is the most important case of kidnapping and murder of. She was 9 years old when she died, And the perpetrator, the tactic to kidnap the girl was, hey, my dog is lost. Can you come with me? Help me find the dog. And she just went with him, trusting the guy because poor dog. We have to find the little dog. It's a way to manipulate girls of that age. So to me, it makes sense. Maybe that
Yeah.
could be a plausible scenario here.
Yeah, for sure. So, all right, let's listen to. I want to hear this one more time, and then we'll talk about a few other things.
Sure.
But
Path. That would be good.
she almost whispers it into the phone. That'd be a gun, like almost like a question. I
Yeah.
don't know. It seems very strange that would be the way she would say it. Anyway,
There's no path going there, so we have to go down here.
because when she says that there's no path here, we got to go down here. She doesn't sound any more alarmed than she
No.
did when she said there's no path there.
Yeah.
And like, it's so weird that is there and said the way that it is, like almost like it's inserted there.
Yeah, she's just like surprised. She already know that they have to go somewhere, but there's no path. So we have to go there, but there's no path. What are we gonna do? And to me, it's like if this guy is just guiding them.
Yeah.
Guys, down the hill. That's the way to go there. I don't know.
Yeah. So here we go. So crazy.
It's
And
crazy.
like, and whoever bridge guy is also super passive. He's just like, guys, down the hill.
Yeah, it doesn't
right?
sound aggressive at all.
No, he doesn't sound like he's like, hey, go down there now. Nothing like that. It's so strange. And you don't hear the girls like start to like make any fuss, like because like, again, you see a gun and now this guy is telling you go down the hill. I feel like you wouldn't just stand there and be like, oh, okay, I guess we'll go down the hill.
Yeah, I wouldn't say they are relaxed, but they are mostly like surprised to me. It's not panic, it's not relaxed, it's surprise. Like, what are we gonna do now? But I don't feel that vibe of panic. So I don't know, man.
Okay.
Something.
So with that all being said, we've got this video. We'll talk about some other things because there's a lot of other important things that have come out now. Whether people want to listen to it, whether they want to believe it or not, there are a lot of other things that are now part of all of this. And, I'm specifically talking about Ricci Davis and talking about both of the confessions with Ron Logan being in 2017, just months after this happened.
Right.
Very, very early on. No reason for Ricci Davis to, make anything up or fabricate things, because at this point, they have no idea. They wouldn't know anything for 7 years.
No.
And, Ricci Davis is saying, hey, this guy, Ron Logan, man, you guys need to look at him because he just told me all this wild shit. And he confessed to me about this murder. This is Ricci Davis, who also didn't ask for any help with his sentence. Didn't say, hey, what are you going to do for me? I got some evidence I heard. Nothing like that. This guy is still in prison with no hope of being released anytime soon. And he just put himself on the chopping block by going out there and giving information and doing an interview with the police while he's in prison. Like, not a good thing to do. I was a corrections officer. You don't want to rat on people while you're in prison. That's a bad idea.
I agree. Well, I don't know if you listened to the interviews Ricci Davis made.
I did.
Very interesting, and to me, he sounds really credible. When I listen to his words, I don't know. I have that sense of being really solid, really credible. At one point, he becomes very how can I say emotional. It's not the way a liar talks. To me, he's actually being trustful. Uh, of course, we don't know if the information he received from Ron Logan and Kegan Kline is it's a lie or not. But there are some weird things there, like for example, as you said, the information about a box cutter in March 2017. This is a big red flag. How would he know that? Is information that only the killer would know. We give or people they give a lot of weight to the white van during the confession of Richard Allen, and if you apply the same thing to the Ricky Davis statement, you have to say that Ron Logan has to be involved here because he was confessing to him about a box cutter, which is most probably the weapon that was used during the murders, according to the state. So at that point, how can he know something about that? It's because actually Ron Logan confessed to him about the box cutter. So this is very interesting.
Yeah, and this is one of the things that when the state brought that to trial, they made it sound like it was the one thing that, nobody else could know because it was never released.
Exactly.
Well, that's not possible because there was a confession that happened in 2017 by another person that they took no action on.
Exactly.
And so this is long, 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 long before Richard Allen was even looked at. Someone had confessed and said that they used a box cutter to kill the two girls. And now 7 years later, during the trial, it comes out and they're using it like it's new evidence.
Exactly.
And it's not. It was out there a long time ago, but it was held from the defense. They have never had access to the video of Ricci Davis doing that interview because now magically no one can find that interview. Oh, funny. Just like all the other interviews that were erased or lost during the first days of the trial, or not the first days of the investigation. So it's crazy to think that all of this stuff happened and it's just all happenstance, that they didn't save any of this information on the biggest trial or the biggest investigation that Delphi has probably ever had. It's unbelievable to think that they could screw it up this bad, and it wasn't on purpose.
Yeah, that's very fishy, very, very fishy.
And then the question becomes, and I was going to bring this up earlier, but this is a better place for it. You got to wonder why, because we know from that interview with Ricci Davis and with Ron Logan that, really with Kegan Kline 7 years later, that Kegan Kline apparently was getting child pornography to Ron Logan. Right. And this is how they had a relationship, that it was it was Kegan Kline and his dad that were getting all this pornography, putting it on these burner phones. Mm-hmm. And then Kegan Kline was showing Ron Logan how to access it because he was technologically incapable. So if that is now the case, how many other people were implicated? How many other people were involved with this child pornography stuff? And then you wonder why, like, a lot of this stuff is they're trying to make disappear. And I don't like to get super conspiracy theory either, but it seems like there is a vested interest if there are some people that they would rather not have come out in the media as being implicated with Ron Logan and with Kegan Kline, that maybe that's the reason why they're trying to get anybody other than Ron Logan or Kegan Kline to be the fall guys, because they need it to be somebody else or all this shit is going to come out. Because they know that, Kegan Kline isn't going to keep his mouth shut if he's in prison for the rest of his life for this murder. So, again, that is a lot of extrapolation. It may or may not be true at all.
It's not that it is not an extrapolation, actually, Jeff, because it's Kegan Kline. He has to be involved here. It's not a crazy idea. It's not a crazy hypothesis. It's not far-fetched. He was the one behind the Anthony Shots account. He was the one who was supposed to meet the Libby the day of the murders at the Monon High Bridge. It's impossible that that's a coincidence. It's impossible. So now that we have this information about Kegan Kline providing or supplying burner phones to those people, it makes sense. It makes total sense. And remember that at one point of this case, Doug Carter, he was talking about tentacles. He was talking about we are going to uncover the biggest child pornography operation in the whole history of Indiana because of the Anthony Shots account. So Kegan Kline has been my main suspect here since the release of the Anthony Shots information. And I think that in this community, we tend to minimize or to underestimate Kegan Kline. Everybody is thinking about Kegan Kline as a dumb guy, a stupid guy, a fat guy who is behind a computer, just taking or having nudes from underage girls, but someone who is not able to do physical harm, or someone who is not able to become violent. And there are a lot of indications that that's not the case. So to me, this whole Ricci Davis situation today, it makes sense to me. I'm not saying that's what happened, but it's not a big extrapolation. It's something that actually it makes sense at all.
Yeah, I think it fits. And I think that, and people will say that, well, why would Kegan Kline go to Ricci Davis and have a conversation? Well, the reason why is, number one, he was gloating about the fact that Richard Allen is now going down for it, and now the heat's all off of him. And he needed to find out what Ron Logan had told Ricci Davis, and if Ricci Davis had gone to the police about it. And so, he needed to know that, because if he didn't know that, then he could be implicated, and he needed to know what to do. So it makes sense to me that he would go and question him and say, hey, I heard you were talking to Ron. Did he mention my name? That makes a lot of sense to me.
And another thing, and I wanted to ask you this question, Jeff, because you did a lot of research and you have your book about serial killers, and you were talking to BTK, and you have a lot of knowledge about this type of psychology, let's say. Remember that when we were talking about BTK, one of the points that made possible his arrest is because at one point he wanted to have credit for the murders. I wonder if it's the same thing for Kegan Kline. Hey, everybody's talking about Richard Allen, but I was the one who planned the whole thing. I was the mastermind of this stuff. So he has the need to talk about that, because it's like his masterpiece, let's say, if we can call it like that. So maybe that's another element. He wants to have some credit for that. You know what I mean?
So, I think it's interesting. And I think maybe some of that is true after Allen was convicted, because he feels like he's untouchable. Exactly. Because, why would he feel the need to worry about that now. Somebody's in jail for 130 years because of it. So now he's in the clear. And there are thousands of people out there that are like, yeah, it's definitely Alan. It's definitely Alan. Nobody else. It was only one guy that did it. And nobody is even looking in his direction. And I feel like maybe he has some assurances like, hey, we're going to keep this the way that it is.
Yeah.
And so, you wonder about that. You wonder like what is really happening there. But I'm sure that he wants the people close to him to know, like, yep, I got away with murder.
Yeah.
And so, and now, especially since Ron Logan is dead, it'll be interesting to see if we ever find out or ever get to hear who the third person is. From what Ricci Davis says, Kegan Kline says it was not Alan, that Alan was not involved. Who knows how true that is. But if that is true, then who's the third person? I feel like it almost has to be Kegan Kline's dad was the third person. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I wouldn't discard Richard Allen as one of the actors. I'm not saying that he is the killer, and I don't know what could happen there. But to me, it's a possibility that Richard Allen was involved. And my point, or the main point to say that, was the confession of Kegan Kline at the Grissom Air Force Base, which led to the search of the Wabash River during 5 or 6 weeks. And right after that, they arrested Richard Allen. So to me, Kegan was ratting on Richard Allen, and they found something in that river. That's my hypothesis. Again, it doesn't make sense that Richard Allen committed the crime all by himself. It's not possible if he was involved. But the words of Kegan Kline were that he went with his father to the cemetery near to the Ron Logan's property, and his father went to commit the crime with someone else. And when his father came back to the car, he told Kegan, "We had fun. We had some fun," something in that sense. So actually, I can see like 4 people involved: Kegan, his father, Ron Logan, or maybe Ron Logan. I don't know, man. I don't know, but I think there were multiple perpetrators. The Kleins, potentially Allen, and potentially Ron Logan. But for sure, the one who was there was Kegan, in my opinion. It's crazy, man. I don't know. It's really crazy, this case.
So, to me, I wonder, what's all the motivation for this? Why did this happen the way that it did? You already mentioned that Kegan Kline was the Anthony Schatz, the guy who did that, and who was supposed to be meeting Libby there that day. It seems like to me that was the plan, that they took them there, that they were, they knew that this was going to happen,
Totally.
that they were probably going to go and maybe Logan, if it was him, said, yeah, we're going to go to the barn, and that's where we're going to do the videos and the pictures and stuff like that. And we'll take you guys down there. But, you can also see the horses and the rabbits and whatever, and we'll show you them too, to make you feel comfortable. And the plan was to go down there and get these videos and these pictures of these 2 young girls so that they could sell it. And I think something happened between that point and when they got there. Maybe the girls started screaming, they got out of control. I think that then they realized that they were not going to be able to get these photos done. Maybe the girls fought a little bit. From what the Ricci Davis, what he says is that they handcuffed the 2 girls together on one hand each with the same handcuff. So they took the girls down there, and it would be interesting to see if at some point they ever recover any pictures at all, or if they ever had any. Because clearly they didn't have any that would implicate somebody else or them handcuffed together or anything like that, or that would have already come out. But it's interesting to find that even though we were told originally that there were no ligature marks, that they were not bound and there was no tape residue or anything like that on either one of the bodies, that there are marks on one hand each. And they didn't have a real good reason for why that was, but because it's only one hand versus both of them or the ankles, they believed that it was not a ligature mark, that it was something else. And again, here's another part where the Ricci Davis letters or the confessions to Ricci Davis line up with what he's saying, that if there are marks on one wrist each, then that lines up with them being handcuffed together and being transported somewhere, whether that was in a vehicle or they were walked there or whatever, that there was something else happening here. And there is real evidence there from the crime scene that supports that telling of the story. You know, whether it's true or not, you've got to look at it and say, hey, there's something here.
Sure.
Because otherwise we have no understanding of why that would be the case. They didn't find any handcuffs in Richard Allen's place, so that was not anything that they found. So it's man, it's such a mystery, but there's a lot of interesting stuff, whether you want to believe Ricci Davis or not. The stuff that he had to say seems consistent with a lot of things that happened at the crime scene.
And just a quick flashback here, Jeff. When you were talking about the Anthony Shots situation and the whole theory here, it's even supported by the recent words of Jerry Holman. The last two interviews he made online, he was in the Hidden True Crime channel, and I think it was in Grey Hughes channel. He was talking about the Anthony Shots, saying something in the sense that this door is not yet closed. So according to him, the Anthony Shots is something that is still valid. You know what I mean? So it's that fishy. And also he said, I cannot talk at this point about the search of the Wabash River. He said that 2 times. And that's very weird, because that search connects case to Kegan Kline, because the search was a consequence of the interrogation of Kegan. So you know what I mean? Kegan has to be involved here for sure.
What's crazy about that is you hear Jerry Holman say that, right? But then he talks out of both sides of his mouth, because then he'll say, well, I always believed that it was only one person that did this.
Exactly.
And it's like, you just said that you believe that there is the possibility, and you're still leaving it open that it was more than one person. How the hell is that possible if you really believe that it was just Richard Allen that did this? It seems, even if you believe that he was involved and he was one of the perpetrators, I don't understand why you would rule out everything else, but in the same breath say that it's still a possibility. Like, it's so dumb.
Yeah. And another thing that is very interesting here is that Nick McClelland, he was talking about, in one of the confessions of, Ron Logan, that one of the confessions that Ron Logan made to Ricci Davis, there's something about a battery that was removed from the cell phone. And Nick McClelland was talking about that. But the defense, they never received that letter, So it's something that is in the possession of the state that was never given to the defense. So what's happening here? The state is keeping information and evidence for themselves. It's crazy. It's unacceptable.
Yeah, and what McClelland says is that he didn't feel like it was valid. Hold on a second. So you're now admitting that you had it and
Exactly.
you made the determination that it was not valid in this case. Well, who the hell are you to make any determination on what's valid? You, as the state, are supposed to turn that evidence over and let the defense determine whether it's valid or not.
Exactly.
Like,
It's not to him.
Yeah, you can't just throw it out because you don't think that it fits. It's not your responsibility to do that. That in and of itself should give him a new trial.
Right. And
It's
another
crazy.
thing, yeah, it's not to him to do that determination, as you said, Jeff. Another thing that it was really interesting here is that according to Ricci Davis, it's not that Kegan told Ricci Davis stuff and Ricci Davis is telling us what Kegan said. Actually, Kegan wrote some notes and some letters that are supposed to be also in the possession of the state. So let's see. I would love to know the content of those letters.
I believe that stuff immediately was burned. I don't think it ever made it any further than one person's eyes.
Yeah,
I think we will never see that ever again. I think that they saw it and were like, "Oh, we got to get rid of this shit. Nobody knows about it yet. We can bury this." And I think that it's really crazy that one of the things that Rissi says is he says, McClellan is making a big stink about this being the girl's cell phone that the battery was taken out of. He said, but I don't know that. I didn't tell them that. What I said is they took a battery out of a cell phone. They had all these burner phones too. It may have been one of those. I don't know.
yeah,
They didn't specify what phone they took a battery out of.
exactly.
So it may not even be one of the girls' phones that they took a battery out of. It could have been a burner phone that they took the battery out of and threw in the river. We don't know that. So, and that is another thing that when you talk about Rissi and when he is speaking, well, that sounds very honest to me, right?
And not only that, he's very educated. The way he talks is, I was surprised when I was expecting to listen to some trash or garbage. He was very educated, articulated. I was really surprised. It's not like I'm not saying that all of the prisoners are not educated, but I was just surprised because we knew that this guy was part of some supremacist group at one point. So I don't know. He seems very, very articulated. The words he uses are great. I was just surprised. I don't know, man.
Yeah. And I agree with you. I think the more I hear him talk about it, the more honest I hear him, and he's not changing what he says. He's clarifying things. When he hears in the media that they're saying this about him or that about him, he's not saying, no, that's not what I meant. He's not saying that. What he's saying is, no, I don't know those things.
Exactly.
This is what I was told. So I don't know, like, if it was this or if it was that. All I know is what I was told, and this is what I was told. That, to me, has a lot of credence.
Right.
Because if he was making up a story, he would just make up another story.
And I know that manipulators, they can act in different ways. But when I hear to this guy, and again, at one point he becomes very emotional, and at one point he was talking about some comment that Kegan Kline made, and Ricky or Ricci or Rissi, he was really mad about that because he said Kegan, he was making fun of Libby. He said something about Libby being chubby, and he became really angry about that during the interview. Like, I was so pissed about that. I was thinking about my daughters. How can he talk about a girl in that way? So it gives you the sense that he's really solid, that he's really honest. I don't know.
Yeah. Like, man, it's so crazy that all of that would happen. And of course, I don't know how much light of day a lot of that stuff is going to see if the appeal doesn't go through and it never makes it back to trial. Rissi will never get a chance to really say what he says or what he has to say. But that now that all this stuff has transpired and it's all out there in the news, Kegan is going to change his story and say, and he's already doing it, right? He's already saying, oh, that guy is always out there trying to do something with somebody's case and, all of this stuff. But, again, and it just sucks that Rissi decided to send this stuff to the prosecution and not send it to the defense, right? He sent it to the prosecution and, all of a sudden everything is lost. And, we only got one letter or two letters and we didn't get anything else, and it's like, if somebody had a vested interest in getting rid of information so that their case doesn't go south, it's the state, not the defense. And so, but the problem is at the time that he was sending all that stuff, he thought that Richard Allen was involved. So he didn't want to send it to the defense because he thought he was going to get a guy off that had committed this crime and that was involved in it. And so, of course, he would not send it to the defense to help them because he wanted to see whoever it was go to jail and go to prison the rest of their life.
Exactly.
So it's like, again, this is another reason why it seems like Davis was being on the up and up and just sharing the information that he had rather than, trying to make up a story. Because this started in 2017. Not in 2024. Like this started a month after the murders happened, when Richard Allen was not even part of anything. This started. So like, it's crazy to think that this guy has now waited and made up all these stories in 7 years because he's saying the same thing. He's sending the stuff directly to the prosecution to help them get the people and convict the people that have committed the crime. It's so crazy.
It's crazy. And there were a lot of interesting things in the Ricci Davis situation here. Remember that because one of the questions here in this case is what is the significance of the sticks? And remember what he said about Kegan Kline. What happened there was that they were like in panic. What are we gonna do? We have to move this girl, but everybody is searching the area. We cannot move her. So what are the proposition or the recommendation of Kegan? His idea was to stage the crime scene like in a witchcraft way, let's say, to make think or to mislead the investigators, because according to Kegan, the investigators when they are gonna see or they are gonna watch that crime scene, they're gonna say there's no way that one guy like Ron Logan made that committed that crime, because the girls are here in his property, but you need multiple people to commit this crime, to stage the crime in that way. So it was the way to make sure that Ron Logan was not going to be involved in the mind of the investigators at that point. That was interesting.
So what's again going back, what is really interesting to me is now when you hear the confession of Elvis Fields, right, and the fact that he confesses and says, well, what if they find my saliva on one of the girls? Now you got to wonder, because his excuse is that maybe somebody took his saliva and placed it at the scene of the crime. Now you got to wonder, is there a connection between Kegan Kline and Elvis Fields. Are they also buying some of this this child pornography from them? And maybe they were like, man, this fucking guy Kegan Kline is a piece of shit. You know, he's hanging out with us and bringing us these phones. I wonder, you know, if he like is going to try to frame us in any of this. So you wonder if that's not why he said that. You know, when you start putting all those pieces together, and they all know that this guy is a dirtbag, right? That he's doing all this nasty stuff, but they're involved with him. How far will he go? And so, you know, you have all this this other stuff that's happening, and why we have all of these other people that are involved in all the Odinism stuff, which is essentially, if you don't know any better, is witchcraft, right? And so we know as well that that region in Indiana, there are a lot of people that believe in Odinism. There's a lot of that religion. There's a lot of places that are named after that. There's bars and tattoo parlors and all kinds of stuff. So it's like, hey, if this is common knowledge, let's blame it on one of those guys, and we'll make it look like that so that they don't come after us.
Yeah.
So, you know, you wonder where the connection is there, because it seems like there has to be one. But, you know, I don't know.
And the connection point to me is always Kegan Kline, man. Again.
Yeah. It seems like
I may be wrong, but the more I listen and I learn things here, the more Kegan is really like the center of this situation. It's crazy.
So it's really funny. When we first had our we first did our live together, and you talked about Kegan, and at that time I didn't know very much about him at all. And now his name has come back up since then, and I've been able to go back and research and look at that. And I got to tell you, I think you got me sold, man. I think you're right. I think Kegan Kline should be the one in the center of this entire investigation. I think that even if, you know, he's lied about some of his involvement to Rissi, that he was clearly involved. He clearly had knowledge of the crime scene. He clearly had knowledge of what happened there. Whether he was the one that actually killed the girls, he certainly lured them there to do whatever he was going to do. He certainly was involved with Ron Logan, who seems to be the one that confessed to killing the girls with a box cutter. You know, so it's like, it seems pretty cut and dry. And why the people that were investigating this dropped all that and cleared all those guys, because they were investigating them, and then they decided not to. So it's like, I don't understand why that's the case, but it seems to have been the case.
Yeah, man. And remember that this is not the first confession of Ron Logan. There was this guy, I think it was James Haas. It was another inmate, and Ron Logan confessed to him as well. And what he said at that point is that he masturbated on one of the girls. That was the confession of Ron Logan. So it's actually two confessions from this guy.
So here's the thing, and this is really interesting that you brought that up. Abby, who we know had no real blood on her, other than at the cut at her neck, was she washed because they had to get rid of the DNA? Is that the reason? You know, so if this actually happened and they didn't sexually assault the girls, but Ron Logan masturbates on her, is that the reason why the body was washed and then was covered in both of the girls' clothes? You know? I
don't know. But masturbation, he could use a preservative, a condom, but who knows? But yeah. Your idea is possible, is plausible for sure.
Yeah, because we know that Libby was not washed, right? She was covered in blood. But Abby, oddly enough, is dressed and redressed and seems to be cleaned up and everything. And there's always this question of why? Why was she cleaned and the other girl wasn't, which was one of the reasons why they talked about rituals and ritualistic stuff, because it's real weird that one of the bodies was cleaned up and seemed to have been washed or something. And there's no reasoning for it because the other girl wasn't that way. So if that's the case, is it that they washed the body to get rid of evidence that was on the body?
Yeah, and when we say clean, just for the viewers, we are not gonna say that there was no mud, because of course we can see dirt on the jeans of Abby, but I think that what you are thinking about is cleaning the body itself, just because some people are gonna say, but when we see the crime scene pictures, we can see mud on Libby's jeans. So how can you say that she was clean? But we understand what you are talking about clearly.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, what's really interesting about that is, Libby is naked, right, at the crime scene, in the crime scene photos, and Abby, for whatever reason, is wearing some of Libby's clothes.
Right.
And so that doesn't necessarily mean that Abby wasn't cleaned. It just means that when they were down there at some point, Libby was kneeling on the ground and got mud on her knees. And then when they put the pants on Abby, it still had mud on it, because that's kind of how that works. Right.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's very interesting. And when you start putting those pieces together and start talking about that the fact that Ron Logan confessed to masturbating on one of the girls, if that is the case, it seems like it makes perfect sense to me that if you're trying to cover up a crime, that you would clean the person who you did that to get rid of your DNA that could land you in jail for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And so, man, it's now, we know that it is hard to, like, get all that off and not leave a trace, but it seems that was the case in this case, because there isn't any DNA that we know of, and none of it has anything to do with Richard Allen. Oddly enough, the only real piece of DNA that they find is a hair from who is it, Libby's sister or Abby's sister, one of the girls' sisters,
Kelsey German.
Kelsey
is her sister. Actually, there are some traces of DNA, but apparently those traces are not useful. They cannot do anything with that. And they think there are multiple unknown male DNA traces, but they cannot use that traces to identify anyone. And one of the $1 million questions here, you were talking about Abby being redressed with Libby's clothes. Kegan Kline was talking also about that, according to Ricci Davis. At one point, both girls were naked or semi-naked, at least in Libby's case, let's say. And the plan, according to Kegan, was to take Libby out of the area inside a car. And Kegan said it's gonna be weird if we go out there with a naked girl in the car, so we have to redress Libby, and that's why she was redressed. Abby, sorry, that's why Abby was redressed with Libby's clothes, according to Kegan. But that plan never happened. They never went out with Libby, and at the end they staged the crime scene with both girls at that crime site. Let's say the final crime site.
So you almost wonder, like, because there's also all of this discussion about the girls, the blood going up the face and not down the body, which is really, really strange, and, there was all this talk about maybe that they were hung upside down, or somebody was holding them upside down when all that happened, which was obvious that if that's the case, it wasn't just one person there that did it. There had to be multiple people. So, that it just, there's so many questions that we still don't have answers for. Like, how was that done? Like, where did they have him? Where was the initial crime scene at? And why did it end up at this final place? So there's a lot of questions that we just don't know yet. And, none of that stuff is adequately represented in the confessions that Richard Allen gave. None of it.
I agree.
So,
and some people are trying to make some or to give some explanations about the fact that the blood was flowing upward, and they say that maybe because of the inclination of the terrain or the position of the girls at one point. That's impossible to me. It's very far-fetched. They had to be like in a vertical position at one point. But again, the main indication to me that there were multiple people here was the fact that there were no defensive injuries on the hands of the girls. That, to me, is something that indicates clearly that there were multiple actors. One single guy couldn't do that by himself at all.
yeah, because if they did it to one girl, the other one would fight back, even if they got the one girl that way.
Exactly, and if he was threatening the girls with a gun in one hand, and he had a box cutter in the other hand, you cannot have 4 hands. You have only 2 hands. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So
Like, it's not possible.
not possible.
Yeah,
So,
it's there is this is one of those things that we're all going to be waiting to see what comes in the appeal, and what the defense comes up with, and what evidence that they have, or what they're going to put out there to really try to bring this to back to court. And so we've seen little snippets, but you got to know that even though those little snippets are coming out with the fact that Brad Weber was not at home the time that he said he was at home, and all of that stuff that they're bringing up now, you got to know that that's only small potatoes to what they actually have and what they're actually going to bring. And so I'm interested to see what that looks like when they submit the first letter, stating what their appeal claims are. I'll be really, really interested to see what that looks like to entice the courts to give them an appeal, a hearing.
And I have the feeling that we are gonna know more things in the near future. The video that was just released, I have the feeling that in the same website they're gonna put more information with over time, because this is not something random. They have some type of agenda there, and we need some transparency here. We are gonna put information here little by little. That's my feeling. Again, speculation.
Well, it seems like the way that was done and that video came out, it was right as the court allowed, they sent something saying that they would release some of that information when this happened. And then, like, that same day later on, the video was released. Yeah, it was the same day.
Okay.
So you wonder if that was like the defense saying, all right, here it is. Now we can release this. And so they dropped it. So I've heard that is the case. I don't know how true that is, if the defense actually did it or if somebody else did it. I don't know who else would have access to that that could put that information out there. I don't know. Because they were, as far as the trial was concerned, all of that stuff was kept really, really close. Nobody had access to any of that stuff. So, you wonder if that was not the case, because there is, there's no advantage for the prosecution to put that out necessarily. I guess maybe if you really believe that everybody's going to jump on the Allen bandwagon and say that it's for sure him, but that is not what's happened. If that was their decision and their thought process, it hasn't helped them.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see. Let's wait.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see.
Yeah,
It'll be it is and here's the thing. A lot of people will say, well, you just put out this content, because it gets views and all of this stuff, and I see that too. I have been really interested in this case, and we've talked about this a bunch since the very beginning. I live not too far away from Delphi itself. I live about 3 hours from there. I'm in, Cincinnati. So this is a local, to me, case.
sure.
So, because all of this stuff blew up, I was always really interested. And I know a lot of people that were actually there at the trial and things like that. So, like, I want to see this to the end. I want
Right.
to look at this and I want to understand it as best I can. And to be perfectly honest, I've pushed off other cases that are big out there right now. The Rex Heuermann case, the Idaho 4 case, and stuff like that. And I'll be perfectly honest. I know, even though I'm going to do a video here coming soon about Heuermann, because I've been researching some of that, I have neglected those, the Karen Reed case and all of that stuff, because honestly, I don't care that
Yeah,
much
right.
about that. It just doesn't interest me as much as this case.
Mhm.
Maybe because it has to do with two little girls, and because there's so much what seems like corruption and things like that that are involved in this. But I want to understand and I want to see all the angles. So, like, this conversation that you and I are having is that it's a conversation to see like what's out there and what am I missing? What am I not seeing out there? Let's talk about it, so that we can look at different viewpoints and different understandings, because you have helped me a ton to be able to really clarify my thoughts around all this, and to sift out some of the bullshit that is out there in social media right now.
No, it's same here, Jeff, and that's the idea. I think that's the way to conduct like a conversation, because if you are saying stuff and the other person is, yes, Jeff, you're right, or yes, Cryptex, you're right. So it's not a constructive interchange, So it was really cool, man. Again, so and I don't know, man. This case is just obsessive. It's
Yeah.
great. I hope we're gonna have some answers at one point.
Oh yeah, I hope. And one of the things I'm really waiting for is if they're going to drop the Allen interrogations. I really, really want to see that. I think that is going to tell us everything that we need to know about Jerry Holman, and I think that is also why they may never be released, because we're going to see Jerry Holman at his finest and see if what he says is actually the truth, or if like he just did everything he can to try to get Allen to say whatever he wanted. And it's still amazing to me that from what we understand with the limited amount of knowledge we have during that time, Richard Allen never once confessed. And he said, it wasn't me. It had nothing to do with me. I wasn't there. And it wasn't until it was obvious that they were going to arrest him for it that he just simply says, you guys are already doing it. It's over now. Just do what you have to do.
Yeah, and that's not even a confession. That's
No,
just saying,
it's not.
I know what you're gonna do, so do it anyways. So,
Yep, I'm already fucked. Come on,
yeah,
just do what you have to do so we can get to trial and I can prove you wrong.
exactly. That's my point. And not only you were talking about the need or that we want to watch or to know those interrogations, but also the confessions of Richard Allen. I want to see Richard Allen confessing. How was he talking? How was the inflection of his voice? All of these things that we don't know yet is going to be really interesting. Let's see.
Yeah, for sure. Because that will definitely tell us whether he was completely out of his mind, if he was lucid, if it was just simply him saying, oh, that, yep, I did it. And so like we need to see that stuff to have a real accurate picture of what was going on. And, from what I understand, the people that have heard that, he was drugged, and everything else during the time that he made all those confessions. So, it's, you can't say, I don't care who you are. You got all these people that are sitting there saying, well, I wouldn't do this and I would never say that. That's bullshit. You're not in solitary confinement sitting there by yourself 23 hours a day. Next time you're in that position, you let me know and tell me the thoughts that you have going on in your head and the things that you would or wouldn't confess to. I worked in a prison. I got to see people that were stuck in a cell by themselves. And I've gotten to see people losing their minds when that happens. The psyche of the human is very fragile, and you can put it in certain positions in certain situations. It is why I say that every single one of us has the potential to kill, because if you were given the right influence and the right situation, every single one of us would.
There's the case of this guy who was coerced to confess about the murder of his father, and it happens that his father was alive. This is freaking crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Cool, man. Do you have anything else to add before we get off of here?
No, I think we made the whole tour here. Thank you so much again, Jeff. It was really cool as usual, and we have to meet again soon, man.
Absolutely, man. It is always good to talk to you. Thanks for taking some time to get on here. And this will, like I said, I'm going to put this up tomorrow. I want to get it out there as quickly as possible because, as well as I do, everybody and their brother is making content right now about this. And so you got to get ahead of the curve, or at least be in the middle of the curve. Right. I don't want to be 3 weeks late.
Got it. Thank you.
All right.
Jeff.
All right, brother. Well, you have a good night, and I will talk to you soon.
You too. See you, man. See you guys.
All right. See you later. All right, guys. Thank you for joining us here for another episode talking about Delphi. There will be much, much more to come because this is not over. There's going to be all kinds of other things that are going to come to light. And I will bring you whatever I know and all of my own personal insight for whatever that's worth. You may think that it's garbage, whatever, but this is what I think. And, I will always give you my honest opinion and what I see is happening. Like I said, I might be wrong. I may not know what I'm talking about, but I always try to take an educated opinion, and I don't speak about things that I think that I don't know about. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens. And, there could be information that comes out a week from now that completely changes my mind. And, I always hold that open. I never want to be one of those people that says this is exactly it. I know it to be true, because this case has already proven that things that I thought were true are not true. So, I always hold the possibility open. So thank you again. And I will see y'all soon on our next episode, which is going to hit Tuesday for podcast-thon and with Peter Vronsky. So check it out. Make sure you're viewing that. That will hit on Tuesday at 3 p.m. But thanks for joining us for this special edition, and I will talk to y'all soon. There it is.